بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه وبعد. Let me start firstly to introduce myself. My name is وليد خالد محمد. I am lecturer in University of الانبار, College of Dentistry. I have got my master and PhD degree in molecular biology. Today I am going to give you some first lecture for me. This is related with the general introduction of the medical biology. These lectures are quite important for the science college and the medical group college as well. After finish this lecture, we have to answer this question. The first question is general and medical biology as the science. And the second one is the characteristics of living things. This is quite important, how can differentiation between the living things and non-living things. And the third one will be cellular level of the life organization, and as well as the difference between the prokaryotic and the eukaryotic cells. What is the mean of the prokaryotic and the eukaryotic? Biology, we have many branches of the biology. Branches of biology is, for example, three types. The first one is the botany. This is related with the plant. And the zoology. And the zoology, this is related with the human beings and the animal, insect, etc. And the third one is the microbiology. This is quite important as well. Because this is related with the tiny things, I mean the small living things like bacteria, virus, parasite, and etc. This branch we cannot study without tools like microscope and transmission electron microscope, scanning electron microscope, and etc. Botany is the branch of the biology with the deal with the study of different aspects of the plants. Related with the plants. Actually, this is a branch is not quite important for the medical group college, or might be related with the science college. And the second one is the zoology. Zoology, this is a branch that deal with the study the different aspects of animal and human beings as well. The third one is as I mentioned before, the microbiology. The microbiology related to our health, because deal with the bacteria, with the parasite, with the viruses, and with the other microorganisms that cannot see by naked eye. In biology, we have many of the branches. Now we are going to discuss some of them, not all of them, but some of them that related with our health. The first one is for example, morphology. Morphology, the study of the external form, size, shape, color, structure, and related position of the various living organ of the living beings. The second one is the anatomy. The anatomy, this is as well as quite important for the medical and the dentistry of College of Dentistry students. It's the study of the internal structure. The first one, study of the external, but the anatomy internal, that's mean inside our body. Internal structure can be observed with the naked eye. I can see this is a branch using just your eye. I can use some of the tools, but in general, anatomy deal with the naked eye and after dissection. In histology, this is opposite science with the anatomy. Histology, we have to use some of specific tools like microscope to see the tissue organization and structure. By using light microscope. Cytology is related with the cell. Cytology related with the cell. This is study of form and structure of cell. As we know, the cell consists of many things. For example, the cell membrane, cytoplasm, and the nucleus. This is cytology related with these structures. Cell biology, this is cell biology, the same, for example, the cytology maybe, but this is a study of the morphological and biochemical. For example, micromolecules, as we know, the micromolecules, we have 4 types of micromolecules: proteins, carbohydrates, lipids, and the nucleic acid. As well as cell biology can study the development, pathological, and evolutionary aspect of cell and its compounds. Molecular biology, actually this is quite important science, because this is related with the genetics, with the DNA, some of disease related just with the genetics, like for example Alzheimer, like for example sickle cell anemia. All these disease related with the gene. That means I have to study the gene and the healthy gene and disease gene to study what's happened exactly after and before the disease. Physiology. Actually, physiology is quite important for the medical growth students, because it's a study that different type of the body function. First of all, we have to learn how our body working, how our body function on the processing. Because if you know the normal situation, after that we will try to figure out after the disease how the body working, and after that if you have any problem we can discover that. For example, heart failure in our body, how can I discover that? Because we have some irregular working for the heart. That means I have to know the regular working for the heart, and then after that I will discover if you have any problem in our heart. The kidney, the stomach, and other parts in our body, I can discover that after study the physiology. Embryology, this is related with the fertilization, growth, division, and the differentiation of the zygotes into embryo, or early development of living beings before the attainment and of the structure and size of the offspring. Genetics, actually this is maybe related with the molecular biology. Already we have give you some examples about that, but maybe this is more specific than molecular biology, because this is deal with the every single gene, and how can pass every single gene from parents to the offspring. The last one is quite important as well, because this is related with our health. This is virology. Virology, it's a study of the viruses in their aspects, and which virus causes the disease in a plant, for example, in animal, for example, as well, in human. Now we have taken some of not all of some of the branch of the biology. 10. We have a lot, but I focus on just this 10. Maybe if you need, you can Google it, and you can see a lot of branches. But here, characteristics of the living things. How can I differentiation between non-living things and living things? We can see here, for example, we have 2, living and non-living. Actually, there are several characteristics that exist to classify an organisms as living things. For example, most of living things, for example, our body consists of the cells. These cells can produce, and as well as this is the cell can use the energy. It's quite important to stay alive and grow and develop. For example, stem cell develop to the for example mature cell, for example RBC, white BC, and others. Response to the stimuli. Response to the stimuli, for it's quite important. Adapt to their environment. For example, now it's very cold today. I have to wear clothes because it's so cold. So that means this is sign if I can adapt with the environment. If you have, for example, in summer, I have to take off some of the clothes because so hot. This is adapt. And maintain hemostasis, and then maintain hemostasis, we'll take it in details in next slides. On the other hand, non-living organisms lack of one or more of these characteristics. For example, virus. The virus maybe is between the living and non-living things because, for example, the virus cannot reproduce, for example, or cannot develop without use other living things like in our cell in our body. Let me give you another example. How can I differentiation between the living and non-living things? For example, the text table. For example, this non-living things because this is table cannot feel, cannot reproduce, cannot, for example, adapt with the environment, cannot grow as well. This is the differentiation between the between non-living things and the living things. As we know, the botany, for example, branch, and microbiology, and as well as not all of them. Microbiology, for example, for us is not living things, and zoology. All of these related with the living things. Now we have to learn how to take some of the characteristics of the living things. How can I, as I mentioned, how can I differentiation between them? We will take it as in details. For example, living things are organized. The second thing, living things obtain and use energy. How can I take the energy when I eat something? This is obtain some of power for us and use that as energy to grow and to develop and to adapt to the air and etc. And living things maintain hemostasis, the balance between pH in our body, temperature, for example. This is quite important, and I'll give you an example for that. When I wear the coat because it's too cold today. This is balance. Hemostasis is called balance. How can I maintain the balance in our body, temperature, pH, and others? And reproduction. How can I the parents to the offspring pass the DNA or genes from the parents to the offspring. Living this at adaptation, I mentioned that before. This is the in general. I am going to give you in details. Living things are organized. What's the meaning? Living things are organized. Actually, as you know, we have more than 118 elements in the nature. All these elements consist of atoms and as well as consist of the electron, proton, and neutron, and the atoms combined with other atoms, either the same or different atoms, to form the molecules. And then these molecules will lead to attach or join to each other to consist of the proteins, carbohydrate, lipids, and nucleic acid, and then this is will after interact to each other will give us the cell, the smallest unit in our body, the cell. So the cell is the smallest unit for the living things. The cell is the smallest living for the living things. So we have two types of the cell, either unicellular like paramecium or multicellular like a human. Either unicellular like paramecium or multicellular like a human. Actually, in our body, I am going to talk about the human. In our body, we have more than 200 type of the cell. All these cells interact to each other to do something. Okay. And then similar cell, these cell after that, as well as combine to each other to form the tissue. For example, nerve tissue, as we know, consists of the brain and the spinal cord and the other parts. These actually parts of the system join to each other to consist of the CNS, or central nervous system. The same things with the, as well as the same thing with the digestive system, the same thing with the cardio, the same thing with the other parts of the body. And after that, all these systems will consist of the human beings, like a human. Now we have these. Actually, this diagram is quite nice. For example, here we have the atoms, as we know atoms consist of a proton here and a neutron, and these we have electron, and then the atom will this is small units of the element composed of the electron, proton, and the neutron, and these will combine or join to each other to consist molecules, and the molecules will join to each other to form the cell, the smallest units in our body, and after that, after the join the tissue to each other will consist will give us the tissue, and we have at least 4 types of the tissue: connective, epithelial, nervous system, and others. And then this is will interact to each other to give us the organ or system, and then will give us the organism like a human or animal or plant, and then population. If we have, like, for example, your wife and your child, this is called population. And then a community, for example, many of families, and then biosphere, or and our planets. This is the level of organization of the living things. Actually, living things obtain and use the energy. This is one of the most important characteristics of the living things. Some of the microorganisms, for example, like paramecium, or for example like others, for example, cannot produce for example, like plants, their food or their energy, but can take it, like us, can take it, and then will go to the digestive system and break it down, and will take it to use it for energy. Actually, the cells that cannot produce or cannot synthesize the energy cannot survive with their own without use the energy. They need power to stay alive. They need energy to perform function, like for example movement. Now I am movement. I need energy to move. For example, growth. For example, for baby to the teenager and to the adults, you need energy to pass these stages. And maintain balance, as I mentioned before, now is so cold, so I need to energy to stay 37 degrees, 37 degrees here. Actually, this is not easy, because the body needs some food to stay temperature at 37. More than, less than will be causes some problem for us. Repair, we need, for example, now if you do something, some accident, like cut your hand, we need some energy to repair our tissue, or repair DNA, or repair everything in our body after damage. Reproduction, movement, as I mentioned before, and defense. What means defense? Defense, we have 2 types: either defense by fighting others, or maybe inside our body. Some of cells, like white BC or immune system, has to use some of energy to fight some of viruses or bacteria or parasites or others. So that's mean all living organisms must obtain and use energy to alive. Without energy, no one can alive, either botany, plant, animal, or microorganisms. Actually, this power comes in many ways. For example, and forms. For example, from food for the human and the animal. For the plant, from the sunlight, and as well as from the carbon dioxide used to produce or to synthesize some of the organic substances like glucose, fructose, and others. As well as these, for example, now if I take some of food, this is called, and break it and by chewing on the stomach some of hormonal enzyme. This is called break down the micromolecules to use it as energy. This is called catabolism. And in anabolism, when I use these to grow, to produce, to movement, or to, as well as anabolism to, for example, to grow something inside our body. For example, as I mentioned before, the baby, when you grow to the teenager, this is need growing. That's mean this is called anabolism. Anabolism when you build something. Catabolism when you break down or you destructed something. And anabolism and catabolism, these processing called metabolism. We can see here anabolism and catabolism. For example, use energy and as well as simple substance. We can here complex molecules. We'll build complex molecules. We can see here anabolism. And catabolism here we can see complex molecules and similar simple molecules and energy to release. That's mean catabolism opposite to the anabolism. This is built and this is destructed. Both of them, anabolism and catabolism, called the metabolism. This is three terms is quite important. We need to differentiation between them because anabolism and catabolism is opposite. This is built and this is destructed or destruction. And this metabolism, both of them called metabolism. This is the sum of the all chemical reaction in our body, all the chemical reaction in our body, anabolism and catabolic activities that go on the cell living organisms. It's continuous process because the moment metabolism stops, the living organism will die. That's mean if the metabolism, either anabolism or catabolism, if you stop, that's mean the organisms, either a human, animal, and microorganism will die. That means this is quite important for our body. Actual living things maintain hemostasis. As I mentioned before, we need to keep our body under balance. For example, salts in our body, magnesium, calcium, sodium. This is quite important for the extra potential. This has to be under balance, as well as the temperature. For example, acidity, moisture, acidity in our body as well is quite important. All these things has to be under balance. If not, will be to die. For example, if you have someone has, for example, temperature more than 40, maybe 40, 41, 42, this will lead to die. Because why? Because the temperature will be very high. If, for example, someone go to someone very cold region and will expose to for example, temperature less than, for example, minus something, and without any adapt, this will lead to stop catabolism or anabolism and lead metabolism as well, and lead to the die as well. The reproduction, we have two types of reproduction. We have asexual reproduction and we have sexual reproduction. This is quite important, and this very important sign for the living of microorganisms. It's quite important. It's very easy. Just Just we need to focus on asexual, and for example fission, budding, and fragment. And these used, for example, in microorganisms like paramecium or like bacteria as well, yeasts, fungi in general. Asexual production for human beings and for animal, and some of the microorganisms like some of bacteria can use these type of the reproduction. Actually, in sexual reproduction, you need to pass, or you need, for example, sperm and ovary in human, and others maybe just transport the genetic material from parents to the offspring. And now this will be the last thing, the structure of the prokaryotic and eukaryotic cell. Actually, we have two types. Prokaryotic cell, that means this is primitive cells, or this is very simple cells. And this will be simple small cell, whereas eukaryotic cells are complex, like us, are very complex. We have more than 40 trillion cells, but the bacteria just one single cells. Large structure, and are present in a trillion, which can be a single called multicellular. While the prokaryotic cell don't have a well-defined nucleus, the genetic material separates in the cytoplasm, as well as nucleotide, whereas eukaryotic cells have well-defined nucleus in the nucleus, or the DNA inside the wall to protect them, as well as stored in this nucleus, the DNA, I mean, or genetic material. We can see here as well. This is very important. This is very simple structure of the prokaryotic. So we can see here, this is bacteria actually, this is flagella, cell wall, and this is genetic material, and those, and the nucleotide, the ribosome, and cell wall, and others. This is general structure of a prokaryotic cell. While we have seen here the structure of the eukaryotic here actually, eukaryotic like cell, human cell for example, we can see here cell membrane, and we can see here all these things, cytoplasm called. The cytoplasm consists of, for example, mitochondria, of endoplasmic reticulum, smooth endoplasmic reticulum as well, ribosomes, the Golgi apparatus, and other organisms like centromeres. The third part is the nucleus. We can see here the nucleus. This nucleus consists of the DNA or genetic material inside them, and this protected by the cell wall, or this is called the nucleus. This is the differentiation between prokaryotic cell and eukaryotic cell. Thank you for listening.